for coming out this evening. It's good to see you all. I'm composer Stanley Friedman, and the music you've just been listening to is the on-track, the love theme from my opera Hypatia, performed by the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra, which I conducted. We also have a live performance this evening with esteemed instrumentalists, Bart Feller on flute and piccolo, Rena Feller on clarinet, Charity Wicks on piano, and stand up, take a bow, and Uli, our singer tonight, who will be performing bits and pieces as a soprano, a mezzo, and even as a tenor. And will be taking over as presenter for the evening. Also need to acknowledge Alan Lee, the international Suzuki specialist extraordinaire, who will be keeping us organized and making sure we don't run over time.
Hello, my name is Yu. Stanley and I met during the opera conference last year. So I was scoping out potential operas for the company I was working for. I saw this interesting script on the table, and then there was this person standing right over there. I waited there for a long time. The composer of that opera never came, but Stanley was standing right over there, so I felt obligated to talk with him. And so I did. I turned to him, and I was like, what's up? What do you have? And then the first thing he says is, do you know the story about Hypatia?
This is Hypatia's theme from the opening of the opera. I learned about the story of Hypatia reading a book by astronomer Carl Sagan many years ago. All the main characters and events in the opera are historically documented. Hypatia was a mathematician, an astronomer, a philosopher after Plato, and the last director of the ancient Great Library of Alexandria. She was very outspoken in affairs of the city, and this pitted her against the Archbishop Cyril, who wanted total control. The discovery of Hypatia's clandestine love affair with Orestes, the Roman governor of Alexandria, led to her brutal murder and the burning of the Great Library in 415 CE. I see Hypatia as an iconic female hero and one of the most powerful and real female characters in all opera.
Wow, that's a heavy story, but it feels still relevant today. I hope we get to see it. By the way,
So
how long is this opera?
about 2.5 hours. It's an opera.
That's weighty. By any chance you have something
Yes, I do. I have a musical comedy / operetta called TEPID, with characters named Princess Mittala and Prince Blah, and set in the thoroughly mediocre kingdom of meh. We'll get to that.
Oh, wait a second. Kingdom of Meh,
Meh.
Prince Blah, and Princess what? How refreshing. And here's my line. Let's see. Well, so Stanley thanked me for stopping by the table and gave me some folders of promotional materials. I went back to the hotel, put my headphones on, and closed my eyes. I played this short excerpt from the abduction dance from Stanley's opera Hypatia. Wow. That was one of the very few times I felt hit by a piece of music. I couldn't describe it, it's so intense. And then everything was so just fantastic. What was this story about?
Hypatia embodied science, humanism, and gender equality. Her assassination and the destruction of the Great Library ensured the church's domination in Europe for the next 1,000 years.
So now I heard some wonderful orchestration. How about the voice?
In this next excerpt, that's up on you, sorry. In this next excerpt, you'll hear Cyril, the Archbishop of Alexandria, singing a quite ominous Kyrie, and then he preaches a fiery sermon stirring his congregation against the pagan scholars of the library and their leader, Hypatia, whom he portrays as a witch.
the scale and the tonality. It's amazing. So, how about something intimate?
We're not ready for that yet.
Oh,
We're still,
not yet.
we're still,
Okay.
we're still having Cyril sermonize here.
Right.
At the end of this at the end of this scene, Cyril commands his followers to assemble and demonstrate at Hypatia's home before dawn.
The Mass is ended. So now, my children, spread the message of God's love. Let us meet again before the dawn, when we will bring the word of the Lord to the house of Hypatia.
I wasn't sure what I heard. A holy man turned a crowd into a violent mob? That is insane. After witnessing the strong orchestration and the vocal lines, I'm ready for something intimate.
Now we're ready. With the Roman Empire officially a Christian theocracy, the governor Orestes' relationship with the pagan Hypatia was doomed. I'll play an excerpt from the love duet between Orestes and Hypatia, and in this music we'll hear both their passion for one another and the undercurrent of the fate that awaits them.
What did you think about a clip? The layers just kept growing. It gets higher and higher, more and more intense. And just when I thought the C is the end, Stanley put a D after that. How daring.
How dare you?
There is such trust in the music, in the story, in the orchestra, in the singers, in humanity. By the way, when you composed this, did you have any soprano in mind?
The recorded scenes, by the way, are from a concert performance at the New Zealand International Festival of the Arts some years ago. I had asked Wendy Dixon, a featured soprano with Opera Australia, if she might be interested in singing the title role. And she was thrilled, and I was thrilled that she was thrilled. Wendy told me that HYPATIA always had been a role model for her and a personification of feminine strength and brilliance and resilience.
If you know any soprano that can sing like that, please let us know. How about the end of that clip? Anyone? It was so gorgeous and eerie too. Yeah. It was so beautiful with the unsettling and fatefully tragic hint embedded in the orchestra.
We're going to perform for you now a little tune, a little short aria called Ode to Hypatia. This is sung in the opera by her student Hesychius, a young Jewish boy who was actually the eyewitness to her murder. We know what happened to her because Hesychius wrote about it. His name, by the way, is Hesychius, is the Greek version of, in Hebrew, Hezekiel or Ezekiel. It's a trouser roll, okay? Yeah.
I chose that specific song to perform because I want to show you something about Stanley. Even a supporting role gets a beautiful moment like that. He has so many details and he puts in so much thought, and I can just feel it. Now we come back to the story again. As many of you remember, it didn't end well. And let's hear the murder scene and Lux Aeterna.
The final scene in the opera takes place in the Caesareum, the Church of Alexandria, which had been built by Mark Antony as a pagan temple in honor of Julius Caesar and was taken over by the church later. Peter, the leader of Cyril's private army of monks, these are all real characters, they really existed. Peter has kidnapped Hypatia and dragged her into the church, where the Archbishop Cyril demands that she convert publicly and kowtow to him or accept exile, and she proudly defies him. Hypatia had been carrying a scroll, a papyrus scroll, written by the ancient Egyptian scientist Ptolemaeus. Peter looks at the scroll. He thinks he doesn't understand the symbols on it. He thinks it's some sort of satanic writing. It's geometry, really, you know. And he burns it in a candle flame and swears that the entire library, hundreds of thousands of documents, will go up in flames. Hypatia, of course, is enraged by this, and she screams at Peter and the monks there that if you destroy all we have learned, if you burn the library, you'll bring about 1,000 years of intellectual darkness. Well, the superstitious Peter and the monks take this to be a witch's curse to blot out the sun, and they set upon her. Cyril orders a cover-up of the crime and the burning of Hypatia's body. When the governor Orestes and Theon, Hypatia's father, and the rest of the students arrive and demand to know what has become of her, Cyril denies all knowledge of her.
Who did you see? Beneath Hypatia. I do not know that name. What can it matter? He is not here. He never existed. He is forgotten.
And the monks come in with armloads of scrolls that they throw into a fire that burns brighter and brighter, and the opera ends.
I finished listening to HYPATIA samples, and then I look at the booklet of TEPID, a comedy, operetta, musical, set in the mythical medieval kingdom of Meh.
When my daughter was little, I had to watch these animated princess movies with her, you know, Mulan and Tangled and yes, and Little Mermaid, all those things. And of course, all these princesses are beautiful and brave and charming and spunky, and they sing with exactly the same voice. But I thought, what about a story about a princess who was none of those things? What about a princess who is just average? Hence, TEPID, the story of an enchanted princess who turns everything to room temperature. In Act 1, the town crier announces Queen Stressa's unexpected pregnancy at advanced maternal age, and then the birth of Princess Mittala, much to the peasants' disinterest. As King Sturm and Queen Stressa fuss and obsess over their baby, the evil bastard Prince Litigius, Lord of Lithium, plots to usurp the throne, enlisting the assistance of the witch Hexama. As Mittala grows into rambunctious toddlerhood, Sturm and Stressa find that parenting and micromanaging the affairs of Meh are too much to handle.
This next song really resonates with me because I have 3 little children. And this role of Princess Mittala is pretty amazing. So she starts as a toddler in Act 1, and then 10-year-old in Act 2. And in Act 3, she turns into this not particularly vivacious young adult.
And 2-year-old Mittala has complete command of exactly 2 words.
Wait. I need to prepare for this, otherwise I can hurt myself.
How far is this going?
No, we'll see. Okay. Absolutely.
I'll give you a moment to get dressed.
Thank you. Calm myself down. Ooh.
Do you need a timeout?
Yes, Daddy.
The king and queen are tricked into hiring Hexima as a nanny, and Hexima curses little Mittila to a life of being abjectly average. In Act 2, now 10 years old, Mittila mopes around Castle May, casting a wet blanket on everyone's excitement, passion, and fun. Her teacher, Miss Smarmy, confirms that Mittila is an average student, the only one in her class. This song, by the way, is sung by the town crier, who acts as a narrator for the story. It's really a tenor role. So
But my tenor voice is not there, so yeah. I had a youth, Princess Mittila had grown to average mass and of height and dimension. She was quite clean, neither pleasant or queenly, but totally lacking of guile and pretension. She was a mother, was mostly ignored by every visitor and all of the servants. All her parents, the royals, adored her. She really strayed from their own observance. All her parents, the royals, adored her. She really strayed from their doting observance.
In Act 3, King Sturm and Queen Stressa desperately arrange a marriage between Princess Mittila and Prince Blah, of the nephew of the King of Strontium. As Mittila and Blah reluctantly get acquainted, they realize that they both have grown up laboring under a curse of mediocrity. Suddenly, the evil spell is magically broken, and they fall madly in love. But Litigius and his barbarian army attack, and when all seems lost, the brave soldiers of Strontium arrive to save the day. Litigius and Hexima are banished. Blah, suddenly a Helden tenor, becomes king of Strontium, and he and Mittila are joyously wed, much to the peasants' disinterest.
Stanley's works showed me a great range of capacity. He turned important historical figures and one devastating event into a spectacular grand opera. He used artists' worst fear, mediocrity, to show how irrelevant everything else is as long as we have love. It's insanely funny, out of expectation, and surprisingly realistic. At that instance, I felt I was meeting the composer, the opera composer of our time. So when I was interviewed by Radio Taiwan International, I bragged about meeting Stanley. I told him that I think we are seeing the Verdi of our time in the making.
Maybe the Meyerbeer.
Meyerbeer, he said, okay. So I really hope to experience more live performances of Stanley's Hypatia, and I asked Stanley in an email, and I said, hey, I'm working for this opera company right now, and by any chance you have anything that could fit into a holiday, or maybe something about social issues?
And Poe may be just what you're looking for. This is a dramatic musical or quasi-opera. It's about the death of Edgar Allan Poe in 1849, when he was just 40 years old. By this time, Halloween had been brought to America by Irish immigrants. Poe's death was as bizarre as anything in his stories. When he was supposed to have been lecturing in Philadelphia, he was found in Baltimore, outside a tavern, in the gutter, raving insanely about someone named Reynolds. More strangely, Poe was wearing clothes that were not his own. He was taken to a hospital where he died a couple of days later. It is known the cause of death was never determined. It is known that in his last weeks, Poe had been investigating voter fraud in Baltimore and was about to expose this in the newspapers. Party bosses were beating men and throwing them into chicken coops, and then to soften them up, and then paying them to vote repeatedly for the candidate of choice. And to confuse the poll officials, the men were given different costumes to wear each time they voted. Poe is a dramatic musical or quasi-opera set entirely in Gunner's Hall Tavern on Election Day. As the political operative Reynolds anxiously awaits the tally, Poe takes notes and names. Realizing that Poe is a famous and influential writer, Reynolds plies him with whiskey, gets him drunk to try to find out how much he really knows. As he becomes intoxicated, Poe leads the Coopers and the women in the bar in enacting scenes from his stories and poems. Disgusted by Reynolds' chicanery, the barmaid Sarah befriends Poe and gains his confidence. Poe gradually reveals the darkness in his soul, the shame and guilt that endlessly haunt him. He expresses this in an aria, Alone. You'll hear soprano Sarah question Poe, and then Poe respond. Poe is a tenor in the show.
you right now. Okay.
It's me. Edgar Allan Poe was a complex, highly conflicted man. Obviously brilliant, he also was an alcoholic and a tortured soul, torn by shame and remorse. He had become infatuated with a very, very young cousin named Virginia, who died shortly after their marriage.
When I learned about Stanley's operas, I felt very intrigued, inspired, and hopeful. We see the stories of Hypatia and Poe. They did not end well. But the thing is that we still know it today. And we know it because people keep telling the stories. And good storytellers like Stanley, that we're seeing right now, we're hearing right now, this is incredible. These works connect with people and help important values to pass on. When I add TEPID into this equation, I see his works providing resonance, escapes, or shelters for our troubling time. We have one more piece to share. It's Stanley's cantata, Sojourner Truth. Does anyone know about Sojourner Truth?
She was born around 1797 as a slave in Dutchess County, New York. New York abolished slavery about 30 years later when she was an adult. In 1828, she sued to recover her son, who had been sold illegally. And this was the first time in America that a black woman successfully sued a white man in court. She changed her name to Sojourner Truth and became an activist for abolition and women's rights. She was a very fiery orator, very charismatic. During the Civil War, she met Abraham Lincoln at the White House and helped enlist black men into the Union Army. This cantata was inspired by her famous speeches.
Well, I see Stanley's works featuring a lot of incredible women, right? We have Hypatia, we have Princess Myrtilla, and then in Poe, we have Sarah, the bartender, very important. Without her, we wouldn't know the story. And now we have Sojourner. And how do you relate to women? And in this case, a woman of color?
Well, cultural appropriation, of course, is a very sensitive issue, as it should be. Sojourner was an African-American woman, which obviously I am not. Yes, hers is a story from the black experience. It also is an American story. It's part of our shared history. Maybe most importantly, it's a story about, it's a human story. The story of an oppressed people who rise to claim their dignity and rights, equal rights under the law. I make no claim to own Sojourner's story. I merely was inspired by it. And I believe it still resonates in America today, especially today, maybe. I'm going to play for you in the video the last song from the cantata. By the way, I wrote this piece. It was commissioned as a cantata, a chamber ensemble piece with a solo singer. It could be semi-staged as a chamber opera, and I've thought about maybe expanding it into a full opera. Here, this performance was in Austin, Texas a couple of years ago. It features New Orleans soprano Valerie Francis. all so much. Thanks for coming out. So we're all going to stick around. That's the show. Unless you want to say some more things? You want to talk some more about you and stuff? You.
All right, sure.
And we're going to ask you, all of you, if you want to come and talk to us and ask questions, comments, criticisms, we're here.
So I think people must be wondering like why we're doing this today. So the minute I heard Stanley's works, I was just so blown away. And I believe that his works deserve to be heard more. So everywhere I go, when I give a lecture in Taiwan, when I talk to my former opera company people, I'm like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. I almost took over a company, except that company went down before I took over. So, otherwise, okay. So I kept telling him that, and he gets really excited, and he said, hey, let's do something in New York City. I said, okay. And then he said, well, first he was like, oh, I want to do this HYPATIA, maybe we'll do several of them. I'm like, no man, if you want to do something in New York City, I think you should use this opportunity to show the varieties that you have, which is immense. And every time I bring up something to Stanley, he's like, yeah, I wrote a book about it. So that's how insightful he is. So our conversation has become so much fun, and that's what I want to share with you. I have to share my view, like how I heard Stanley. So the process of going through that, all the clips were how this led us to here today. And I really believe the power of music. I believe the power of friendship. And I believe the power of just believing. And so a little more about myself. Of course, I have to talk about myself. I'm from Taiwan, and I was born at a very strange time. My grandparents spoke Japanese because of Japan's colonization. The nationalists came over, they took over. My parents were forced to speak Mandarin. And there is this language barrier over there. The emotional language was not very developed. When I was 5, the long martial law order was finally lifted. And so for a long time, I believed that I was a Chinese because that's what my textbooks have been telling me. And then I realized that, now I have a identity that's possible. It's a new possibility that's Taiwanese, okay? So then I look back at my family. We didn't speak much at home, but there was one thing that stayed consistent. It was the love for song. And then the songs we shared at home somehow preserved and passed on important messages, despite rulers' preferences. So with that passion for music, I came to the States to study, and then I established a career worldwide. And then I applied for a green card as an artist, and then I got it. I became a citizen of the United States. And now I have many wonderful friends here, and I keep doing what I like to do. So I really enjoy this music and friendship thing. And if you have any questions, ask away. Aww.
So I have to say, and we'll wrap this up, that last year at the Opera America Conference was in Memphis, which is where I live, where Rena and I live, even though she's a New Yorker by birth. And I had a little table set up with some of my scores and demo materials, and this lovely lady stopped by and actually looked at what I had and actually listened to the music, and this was an amazing thing. So this, for a composer, when anybody actually listens to your stuff, it's as you guys know, you gotta appreciate it. So we put this together really because of our chance meeting last year at the Opera Conference. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you again. Bart Feller, extraordinary. Rena Feller, Charity Wicks, and of course, Uli. So, yes.
Oh, we need to line up, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go. Oh.
So, please.
Charity is on Broadway right now. Operation Mincemeat. I'm going to watch the show next week. Yes.
So, please talk to us. Comment.
We're going to put the towel.
Okay, we'll do the bow thing.